Clay Henry joining us here, the illustrious publisher of Hogs Illustrated. Clay, how long have you been coming on halftime with us here?
Couple of years, 3 years?
No, you haven't been for a couple of years. I think it's been maybe a year or so is my guess.
Okay.
So it took 12 months for us to finally get you the walk-up song that you might have requested, like the first month you were doing the show with us here. We know you are our resident George Strait fan, like real fan. Finally, we got you your walk-up music from George Strait. So does that make you feel better than usual?
Yeah, it fires me up. I was singing along.
You sure
toe-tapping stuff, man. I was somewhere a few years ago, and there was a karaoke, and somebody tried to get me to sing George, and I realized that I sang harmony, that I did not sing the lead, that I would harmonize with George, and it didn't work. So I do sing along with George, but I sing in a different key, and it's harmony. And I will, my voice is different than his, obviously. And so it didn't work. So I cannot lead in a George Strait song, but I will sing along, and it's lovely. I mean, it's going down the highway with my truck with all my good speaker system and turning it up loud, and his band is just terrific. I mean, it's the best. His fiddle player, I think his name is Gene Elder, is just he's outstanding, and every piece of his band has been with him forever. His backup singer, and of course I'm a backup singer. I just do the harmony. Enough of this. I don't think y'all wanted to hear George Strait stuff.
I figured since Clay was putting in overtime this week, because he's having to deal with Ty on a much more regular basis since Tommy's on hiatus and vacation right now, that we need to take care of Clay when he comes on here. Well, this is his therapy session of trying to get him feeling good.
And this is early in the 2-week tenure in which he'll be filling in for Tommy. So, Clay, do you think your frustration level when you're back on halftime in a week might be a little bit higher dealing with Ty for another?
No, I mean,
days?
I'm relaxed and easy with you guys. I'm on point. When I'm dealing with Ty, you never know when, he's going to mispronounce words or stumble around, and you need a phonics intervention. He may say Arkansas. I mean, he there's lots of things that he does that you just cringe. Have y'all heard him say Arkansas?
I have most definitely heard, and I guess maybe that's where Mork from Mork and Mindy was
no
really
question.
Came from, not the planet that he told you.
Forgot about that.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
That's exactly right. Arkansas.
Hey, he's he can kind of grow on you, but sometimes it's a growth that needs to be trimmed off.
Yeah, like a fungus, right? That's exactly the way you might look at it. All right, so all my exes are from Texas, but they're the best pitcher in college baseball is from Texas.
No question.
That's Kevin Kopps. I think he deserves the Golden Spikes Award. I think he deserves the Dick Hauser Award.
Well,
but there is such a disconnect, Clay, between a lot of those names who were automatic first-round draft choices, and going into this last month, there's nothing Kevin can do, I think, about he's not going to be a first-round pick.
Well, there's guys that have immense talent, and they've got all the tools, and their stats are amazing, but they're not pitchers, and they don't have the value in. I'm a Heisman voter, and the ballot, it says one thing: the most outstanding player in college football. I don't know what the exact structure of the Dick Hauser or the Golden Spikes. Those are different awards, by the way. Mm-hmm. But he's the most valuable player to his team, and it's the number one team, and it's one of the strongest number ones that we've had in a long, long time. I mean, these Razorbacks are just outstanding. So if you want to say who's the most outstanding player, you might pick somebody else because he's got 5 tools, and he's, he can run, he can hit, he has home runs, he has RBI. Who's the MVP in baseball? To me, sometimes that's a misnomer because it might not be it might be the guy that has the best stats. But if you look at victories, saves, ERA, strikeouts to walk, I don't know how you can argue anybody else. And any hitter that you want to argue, you can pitch around. I mean, they did that to Benintendi, late in the year. Nobody wanted to pitch to him. And, he got a little creative in being able to hit the outside pitch the other way that was not a strike, is off the plate. So, I mean, he took his walks. But this is different, what Kevin has done. I mean, he has lifted his team. And, I mean, they would be a really good team without him. But there are times where he just does Superman stuff.
Well, he shortens the game, and there's the aspect of anything that happens on the field while he's pitching to shorten the game, but then the mindset of the teams. And I think we've focused a little bit on the idea that when Kevin comes into a game, that jazzes up his own lineup a little bit. But I feel like there's this growing pressure on the opponent every game that Arkansas plays, knowing that Kopps is there and a 9-inning game pretty much is shortened to 6 innings. Because they would say with Mariano Rivera, like it's an 8-inning game because he's only coming in to pitch the 9th inning. You better score your runs in 8 innings. With Kopps, you better score your runs in 6 innings, sometimes 5 innings. And so that mindset for me, I feel that's got something to do with the other team in the other dugout feeling a lot of pressure just knowing Kopps is there.
Yeah, I don't remember we had Tyler Spoon today, and he mentioned Zach Jackson, and I never had that feeling with Zach. I mean, I thought of he and Cronin, and I saw Phil Stidham pitch and Tim Dietz. They weren't asked to just pile up outs, at the end of a ball game, and to do it twice. And it was Zach sometimes, but this is different, and it's. And Zach Jackson, his problem most of the time was he didn't throw enough strikes. And Kevin he throws everything for a strike. I mean, you do the pitch count for the whole season and see what the percentage of strikes, it is way up there.
Clay Henry joining us here on Halftime. Clay, before we finish up this segment, keep you on this next one. Who do you think will be on the bump when Arkansas takes on New Jersey, or Nidget, as Phil likes to refer to him as? And you saw a lot of quality arms coming out of that bullpen for Arkansas. You saw Connor Nolan shake off the bad juju that he's had on him. Caleb Bolden, Jackson Wiggins, Heston Toll. Lots of options for Coach Van Horn. Who would you put out on the bump for game 1 of the regional?
Yeah, there's something in me that says it could still be Wicklander, and I'll tell you why. You can probably make it through Friday with any number of pitchers, and I call them the N-Jets. But when you decide to pitch somebody on Friday night, you also have to have an eye for, okay, you want normal rest for the Super, right? So if you're going to play on Friday the next week, and you wait and you put Wicklander on Saturday or even Sunday, then you're getting into problems asking him to come back on Friday. So that's one reason why Dave might, and I know that was definitely why some other guys in other years he's pitched his number 1 on a Friday. I'm kind of leaning that it might be Caleb Bolden, though. That's just my gut feeling.
Bring up a good point, though. That's a good idea
too. But I want to also tell you that I think N-Jet is probably a nicer nickname than Nidget. So I might borrow yours. I think I might borrow yours, Clay. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. The N-Jets, they're coming.
N-Jets. It's even better.
Yeah.
It almost makes them sound like some sort of a service.
A low-level strafing team.
Yeah. Fly you from Newark to Boston, just for a weekend or something. That's right. Yeah. You can also, don't forget to be listening to our radio station whenever the games are done, because we're going to be at Walk-Ons for our post game for the road to Omaha all month.
Yeah, you need to get to Walk-Ons. Arkansas Game Day and the Hog Reaction post-game show. Ty will be live at Walk-Ons all throughout the regional. If we move on to the Super Regional and throughout the College World Series, that is Walk-Ons in Fort Smith. Every Tuesday is Fat Tuesday at Walk-Ons here in Fort Smith. For to-go orders, give them a call at 479-974-9255. That is Walk-Ons in Fort Smith. More with Clay Henry coming up next. Jalen Battles put the feather in the cap, like you just heard that right there from Phil and Bubba, and sent the Razorbacks on the road to Omaha. And ESPN Arkansas is on the road to Omaha as well. And it's all brought to you by our friends at Steve Feinberg and Associates, commercial real estate specialists serving the Northwest Arkansas area. You can find out more from them at arcrealestate.com, ARKrealestate.com. The Grease Pig is your home for all your vehicles, oil changes, service, and repairs up in Fayetteville on North College and MLK. And also brought to you by Construction Master Roofings, they are ready for your roofing needs and more. They're there for you at 479-648-8888. And boys, we are on the road to Omaha, Nebraska, the Emerald City.
That's right. Clay Henry with us here for this last segment of hour number one. If you got questions for Clay, 877-377-6963. Clay, the team did not play like last week's tournament. Didn't mean anything. I know they heard all of that stuff. I know that every team that goes into Hoover hears all of that stuff. They need to just block all of that stuff out of their minds, because the moment you start viewing a game that you're playing that doesn't matter, you're not going to play well. And sometimes it's difficult to just flip that switch. What I saw last week, Clay, is just a team that knows how to play winning baseball under almost any situation, whether the game mattered or not. And they knew what was going to happen on Selection Monday, even if they went 0-2. So when you see what they did last week against four really good teams, what do you take away from that?
They play every pitch like it's the most important pitch of the game, and they pile them on top of each other. And that's what these coaches strive to get from these players, but rarely do you get it. But it's like they don't really care when they get you. I'm talking about when do they break the other team, and when does that big moment come? But they know that every pitch is important, every at-bat is important, every play is important, and they do not make mistakes. So much of sports is you beat yourself. This team just doesn't do that. And, you just – Phil, did they make an error in their 4 games?
Nope.
I mean, how often does that happen? I just don't remember them going to any tournament and playing that many games in that kind of pressure situation. And they were 1-run games, and they didn't make a mistake.
Yeah. And
that's whether it's football, golf, golf, it's the guy that can play his mistakes, that can absorb them. But baseball, you beat yourself more often than the other team beats you.
Especially in college baseball.
No question. It's amateur baseball.
Yeah, Dave will always say, the way you have big innings is usually going to involve some wild pitches, hit batter, some walks. Not just going to be a string of hits. And Arkansas, these guys don't make a lot of mistakes. Like a home run is usually a bad pitch, right? That's a mistake pitch taken advantage of by the hitter. And Arkansas pitchers make their share of mistake pitches, but they don't make mistakes in the field. And one area where they're really good usually is taking advantage of other teams' mistakes. So that's one thing I look at when I look in the stat sheet of the teams that they could play after you play NJET on Friday. Nebraska and Northeastern have played against teams that have made a ton of mistakes. Both of those teams have scored well over 1 unearned run per game. That's not the kind of team that they're going to play when they play against the Razorbacks on Saturday. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, the defense on this team and the ability to limit walks, and it was, to me, it's classic Dave Van Horn when he sees somebody walk a guy, then pitch ball 1. He goes and gets them. If it's in the critical point of the game, 5th, 6th, 7th inning, and you walk a guy and your next pitch is ball 1, he's likely to go get you, and they know it. And it is because he does not want to beat him. They understand that that's the way Arkansas baseball is played.
Yeah, yeah, and they have the kind of depth on the pitching staff now where he can have that mindset that if there's someone that's not throwing strikes or someone that's getting hit, he doesn't need to see if they can get out of the jam. He doesn't need to stretch the innings out from these guys like I've seen in some other pitching staff. So the depth that we were talking about at the start of the season, I think is really on display by the way that Dave brings pitchers in and out.
Yeah. I was watching it seemed like maybe it was the Vanderbilt game after they showed his little post-game meeting with the team, and he would say something and the players would clap. Have you ever seen that before?
Yes.
I mean, did they applaud while he's talking to them?
What I saw him say to them, because Charlie Parsley had his camera in that huddle, what he said to them is that he thought that was the best game that Casey Opitz has ever caught for him. And I think that got a big reaction from the team. And then when he invited Ethan Bates into the middle of the huddle to do the post-game hog scream with his teammates, that also juiced that team up quite a bit.
But
I
I'm
think
saying
that team also was just fired up to beat Vandy.
Yeah, but I don't remember watching those outfield gatherings and seeing players applaud. It just seems to me this is a different team, and he is so relaxed with them because he trusts them in every situation that they know how to handle it.
I think in Dave's mind, and he's told me this, and I think he told the players this too before the championship game on Sunday, it's a pleasure to coach them. You can't say that about every team, but I think he really enjoys this because this is a team that is a heck of a lot of fun to coach, and you got to pick and choose your spots when you tell him that before a conference title game is one of those moments. So Dave is just so good at picking spots to communicate with these guys. Clay, we got a caller on hold here. I think he's got a comment for both of us. And it's JW, who is, as he likes to say sometimes, the wisest of our listeners. So we have the wisest of our guests on with us, too.
That's
so
true.
This works out. Hi, JW. What's up?
Well, I'm not the wisest. I'm probably the dumbest. But I called in not so much with a question, but I've got a thank you for Clay. A serious thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
The reason being, I've been dealing with banking and real estate and filling out forms and downloading forms and doing this and that. And you can sometimes lose perspective when you do that.
Yeah.
And so he mentioned one of my favorite singers, George Strait. And I'm thinking, okay, let's get back to reality here. And what was interesting is that I know George Strait's whole catalog, and I'm a lead singer. So here's an invitation to Clay. Thank you again so much for bringing me back to reality. If I'm out someplace and you're out someplace, I can always use a backup singer. Oh, wants to sing harmony, always.
I'll be in the back.
My favorite current song is Troubadour. I love that song.
Oh, it's a classic. Yep, and I'm an old troubadour. There's no question about that. Sound like you are too, JW.
All of his catalog, I like all of it. He is called the king for a reason. Anyway, thank you all. Keep doing what you're doing.
This is
Appreciate
great.
JW.
This is great. The sports talk program has
great
become
call.
has become a get together for a song kind of a show too. So I'll be the MC. And SmackDown could be the DJ, but he's got to stay away from all of the equipment because
Fire alarms,
smoke alarms and stuff like that. So you got a fan out there, Clay, just because you like George Strait. I'm sure JW's not the only one.
Yep. George and some of his guys, they hang out down in San Marcos. There's some of them they're Aggies, some of them are UT guys, but I just kind of let that just roll on by me.
Clay, there was something I wanted to get into, and we might have just a couple of minutes left here, so maybe we can save it for next week. I don't know. But, I mean, I've had a couple of people point out on social media that, they're looking at the proximity of how close Nolan Richardson's first Final Four team was to the national championship team. And they're kind of drawing that same comparison to, and it wasn't Dave's first Omaha team at Arkansas, but 2018 and 2019 coming so close as feeling like maybe those are precursors to a national championship this season. Do you see any similarities between what happened in the early 90s and what's going on now?
Other than I hope that's right. I don't know. But it certainly felt like, Nolan, he figured it out. And, boy, I want to tell you what's really similar. That was a great collection of basketball players, and this is a great collection of baseball players, and it sure makes the coach look good.
There's this feeling, there's this general aura around Arkansas baseball that it's going to happen at some point. And I know right now we're worried about 2021, but still where the program is, like you're at a level that you just kind of expect there will be a national championship at some point. Was that the thought also in the early 90s, the way that Nolan was building that program?
Well, you could see that he was, he knock off great teams. So I mean, he it seemed like the big moments he enjoyed, and I'll say that goes all the way back to when he was at Tulsa, and